FM 90.3 WJTL on YouTunes at 9. 1 hour of new and emerging music. There's a brand new track by the band called Skillet, called Fire and Fury, a band that no doubt is influenced by our guest tonight, Michael Sweet of Stryper. You talk about Stryper, you think about those names, Oz Fox on guitar, Tim Gaines on bass, Robert Sweet on drums, and Michael Sweet on guitar and vocals. Michael Sweet from Stryper. Welcome back to WJTL, Michael.
Hey, this is Vinnie Vincent, actually.
No.
What's going on?
Now, see, now you're dating yourself when you talk about guys who play guitar like that back in the mid to late 80s. It's great to hear your voice on the radio. And one thing I always love about you, Michael, is no matter what you're doing, whether it's 1984, 1996, or 2013, you have such a passion. And that's such an overused word. But I think with this band, Stryper, when you talk about passion, you're talking about a level of commitment that you just don't see. Talk about that level of commitment that your band has to making great music day in, day out, and now 30 years on.
Well, man, yeah, and it's not just the music. Obviously, it's the message, too. I mean, we are very passionate about what we do. We take it very serious, and we're very determined. You know, we've been beat up, dragged through the coals, I mean, for 30 years. We've had a lot of support as well, but, you know, it just feels like nothing can stop us. And you know, obviously that's not of our own doing. That's because we have God on our side, and we're still out there delivering the message and the music to people. And I believe that we're delivering and producing and turning out some of the best music of our careers. And I think this new record, No More Hell to Pay, is the best record we've ever made. Well, that's what I feel.
Well, I think it's a phenomenal record. It does stand up well, I think, with some of the other classic records. It's your 8th record, but you think about some of the, really, I think you can call them rock masterpieces throughout your years, and I think this record is right there. The record's coming out next Tuesday, called No More Hell to Pay. Check out Stryper.com. You'll see a video for the new record up there. You can pre-order this new disc on vinyl. It's No More Hell to Pay coming out on Tuesday, YouTube, Facebook, etc., iTunes, available on Amazon also. Does as the band's approach to songwriting and just making music, it seems intact, but do you kind of refine how you approach your songwriting and guitar playing with this band, or has it always been just the same? Is there a secret to it?
There really isn't a secret. I mean, I do know this, and I can say this. Back in the early days, I spent a lot more time preparing for albums and writing albums. This time, in these days that I write in, I basically will go out and tour for 4, 5, 6 months. I'll come home, take some time off, catch my breath, and then we've got a month, 4, 5, 6 weeks to go in and start recording, and that's when I'll go down to my studio and I'll spend a couple weeks writing all the songs. Then the guys will come out, I'll teach the songs to them, and then we'll go in and record. So it's a little bit more structured, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's actually a good thing, because when I get that green light, like, okay, it's time to go write for this record, I go down every day until I emerge from my cave, my man cave, 2 or 3 weeks later, and I've got the album. And it just works. So if that's the secret, there's the secret.
The Michael Sweet Man Cave, trying to picture that with the guitars hanging there around the low-lying ceiling. Click on Stryper.com. Check out all the free music packages, and there's amazing music coming out next Tuesday from Stryper. No More Hell to Pay. And you also think about this 30 years on, and we just talked about some of the success of the band, but then I would think there's such a loyal following that the band has, but because you're releasing new music, I think it's unique that you're at your website, you've got like 16 tracks there. You got 2 new tracks up also, which include To Hell with the Devil, and you got some remastered versions of some of the classic songs. You're always inspiring new fans and turning on new people and new decades, generations of fans to your music. Talk to that point.
That just boggles the mind. I mean, when I stop and for a moment think about that we've been going for 30 years. We formed 30 years ago. Our first album came out July of next year, 30 years ago. So that's insane to me. And, I feel like truthfully, I feel like I'm still in my 30s. I don't feel like I'm 50 years old. I just turned 50, and the other guys are we're in the same age range and bracket. And, it just doesn't feel like we've been doing it this long, but we have been. And to still be going and to still be somewhat relevant and, like I said earlier, creating some of the best music of our lives and our careers, man, it just feels good. But more important, and what feels even better than that, is to know that we're reaching people, to see the second and third generations come out to our shows and, being touched by, this song or this lyric or that lyric. That means the world. And, that's our legacy. We have a new song on the record called Legacy. That's what we want to leave behind. That's a real legacy, not how many cars you have, how many homes you have, how many clothes you have. That stuff means nothing. But what means everything are the lives that you touch and affect. And I'm hoping and praying that Stryper's touched and affected many.
Well, I think you certainly are. I think that continues to be proven with the music you're recording. Stryper has a new record coming out next Tuesday. It's available on iTunes. It's called No More Hell to Pay. There's also it's called Second Coming up at Stryper.com. You have 16 tracks there, 2 new and 14 re-recorded classics, including To Hell with the Devil, also Loud and Clear, that goes back a ways, and Soldiers Under Command. It's a kind of a primer for first-time listeners and longtime fans alike. Michael Sweet is my guest on New Tunes at 9. And I was looking on your Facebook page tonight, and there's also a connection you've had with a great band called Boston throughout the years, and Tom Scholz. And is there something happening there as well, or is that kind of on hiatus for a while?
Well, I left the band. And some people might think, what, you left Boston? What are you crazy? I left because I wanted to focus 110% of my time and effort to the band that I started with, which is, of course, Stryper. So Boston's one of those bands that you just don't know what's going to happen or when it's going to happen. So you'll get the inkling that you're going to go on tour next year. You'll start to kind of make plans for those possibilities, and then you'll get the phone call that you're not going on tour next year. And it kind of keeps happening, and the record's going to come out this year, and it comes out, 5 years later. And because of those inconsistencies in scheduling and whatnot, I just felt like, look, I got to commit to Stryper. That's what I did. I'm glad I did. And oddly enough, Boston actually has a new album coming out as well. So I'm not on it. But look, I wish those guys the best. It was a great period of my life. And a lot of fun, man. To stand on stage singing those Boston songs, the classics that I grew up on, and it inspired me as a musician. Really incredible.
Well, everyone has their heroes, and you certainly have yours. Brad Delp was a great singer for Boston, and I hear John Cooper is Skillet, and I say, yeah, there's a guy who's been influenced by Michael Sweet, our guest from Stryper tonight on New Tunes at 9 on WJTL. Michael, right before you go out on stage, you got the guitar in your hand, and you're just about ready to set foot on stage, and the house lights are down, and you hear the crowd, and in your heart you've got that prayer for Christ to go out on stage. What's on your mind at that moment?
At that very moment, I always have that feeling of butterflies in my stomach. Of course, we pray before every show. We get together and pray, and I just do my ritualistic, pacing and drinking, my water and my tea and warming up, and right up until I take the stage and walk out on the stage. And I can never shake those nerves, and I guess it's a good thing because it keeps me on my toes. So, the thing that I wish is that it didn't affect my voice. Unfortunately, those nerves do affect my voice. It takes about 3 or 4 songs for me to kind of calm down a little bit and start to settle in, and due to nerves. So a lot of people may not know that, but I get nervous before every show, really bad.
Here's a seasoned veteran speaking about right before he goes on stage, Michael Sweet from Stryper. Legacy is intact. Your faith is intact. You've survived so many changes, too. Think about the musical styles and trends. I mean, with MTV back in the 80s and new wave and metal and grunge and alt-rock and rapcore, just thinking about that. And this sound that Stryper has, that... I mean, some people call it the glam rock sound, the glam metal sound, but it's just a sound of Stryper. That sound has just been steadfast, and I think it's unique that there's so few bands you can point to and say, yep, that's Stryper. Just that sound. Talk about that sound of your band.
Well, love it or hate it, we do have our own sound, and we have our own guitar tone, we have our own distinct vocal sound, and there is a certain style that I think, as you said, you hear it and you're able to say, okay, that's Stryper. I think that comes from a lot of different bands. we had many influences growing up. You know, some of those bands like Queen. Queen was a big influence of ours vocally. You can hear that in some of our vocals from time to time. Believe it or not, you know, we were influenced by the Beach Boys. You know, I used to listen to the Beach Boys. Oz used to listen to the Beach Boys a lot. And Oz and I are the guys that do most of the harmony vocals. So I think at times you can almost hear that too, oddly enough. I mean, we were influenced by Van Halen, by Judas Priest, by all these bands, and you can hear those flavors within our music. But yet at the same time, we kind of have our own little signature and our own unique style. And again, as I said, love it or hate it. I mean, some people don't like it, you know, but then again, that's the beauty of music is, you know, we all have our own favorites. You know, some people don't like Boston. Some people don't like Judas Priest. Some people don't like Skillet or whatever, whoever the band is. But boy, I tell you, it's really cool to be able to say that you have kind of developed, for whatever reason, however, you've developed your own sound. And I think Stryper has managed to do that miraculously.
Well, I think Stryper has indeed. So that's a musical perspective. What about from a faith perspective and from a personal standpoint, someone who shaped you as a young man who maybe in your early years of life, your teenage years when you were, you know, you kind of spreading your wings out from your parents who said, you can do this, or someone who guided you or gave you that push into what you thought you could do, and you kind of reached down within yourself. Was there someone in your life like that?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I mean, there's so many. I mean, starting way back, you know, Jimmy Swaggart was someone that touched our family and really led us to the Lord. Later on in life, he wound up, when Stryper formed, I was 12 years old when I accepted Christ for the first time, and then I fell away and walked away, and then I rededicated my life at the age of 20, and that's when Stryper started really taking off, and then Jimmy Swaggart started speaking out against us and holding up records and saying, you know, these guys are wolves in sheep's clothing, they're not real, they're phonies, blah, blah, blah. He was someone that really had an effect on me in terms of my spirituality and my faith deeply. Okay, and then after Swaggart, Jimmy Swaggart, I went on to be very influenced by Chuck Smith, and then Raul Reeves, who became my pastor for a number of years, Calvary Chapel. And, you know, just people, a gentleman by the name of Michael Guido, who was a big influence in my life, a gentleman by the name of Kenny Metcalf. I mean, there's been so many people who have come into my life who have helped to shape me in terms of, you know, where I put my faith and how deep it is. So I thank them. I wouldn't be here without them, that's for sure.
Michael Sweet of Stryper, 8th project. Hard to believe, 8th projects in 30 years. A new record coming out next Tuesday called No More Hell to Pay. It's available on iTunes. Check out Stryper.com. New record actually coming out on vinyl. Talk about when things come around. You got the new record coming out on vinyl, Michael. Various T-shirt packages also. Band has a Facebook page, YouTube videos, and more. Just think about this, Michael. Years ago, there was no Kickstarter campaigns. There was no World Wide Web. Your band began back in the early 80s, and now you got you on social media, and you connect with your fans on such a different level via Facebook. Talk about that connection.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, there's the good and the bad. And the bad with social networking and the internet, you know, as we all know, as musicians, is the free music, you know, and the decline of record sales. I mean, it's a whole new art now. I mean, you really have to use wisdom and be very creative in how you present yourself and sell yourself, for lack of a better term, and because people just aren't buying records anymore. They're downloading one song or getting it for free or whatever. But man, the beautiful thing about the internet is being able to go online and instantaneously communicate with your fans. You know, I just write something on Twitter and hit tweet, and bang, it's there. And up to, you know, my almost 40,000 followers, and it's just like instant. That's amazing. I mean, back in the old days, you'd have to sit down and write a letter and go to the post office and put the stamps on it and mail it and then wait, and a lot of them would come back because return addresses, and you know, it was a lot more complicated. And this is hassle-free, and it's just such an incredible way to stay in touch with the fans. And then Facebook as well. I love it. I'm very active on Facebook. I'm very active on Twitter, and I not only stay in touch in terms of updates, but I answer questions. I pray for people. People send me tweets all the time saying, can you pray for me for this or that? I'm in the hospital. I'm able to instantly pray for them and get my followers to pray for them. So, it's just amazing. It's really cool.
Praise God indeed. Michael Sweet from Stryper, 8th record coming out next Tuesday called No More Hell to Pay. Check out Stryper.com. The record is produced by Michael Sweet of Stryper. The band is intact. Amazing. Here in 2013, Oz Fox on guitar, Michael on vocals and guitar, Tim Gaines on bass, great bass player, and of course, Robert Sweet on drums. It's good to hear those voices, good to hear those names as we get ready for the new record by Stryper coming out on Tuesday. It's also available on iTunes. Check out Amazon. You can pre-order the new disc. It's on CD, it's on vinyl, and it's on the internet as well. Stryper.com. Talk about the new song, No More Hell to Pay, Michael.
Well, No More Hell to Pay was basically in writing that and coming up with the title. My thoughts were, you know what, let's not only rival To Hell with the Devil with the song, but let's rival it with a whole record. And that's why we went after the artwork. It's similar to Hell with the Devil, but today the song No More Hell to Pay is similar to Hell with the Devil in terms of the groove and the tempo and the message as well. And basically what the message of that song is, when you put your faith in Christ, there is no more hell to pay because he took it all. He paid the price, and if you believe in him and believe that, you can put your faith and your trust in him and ask, Lord, help me through whatever hell I'm going through. We all go through hell here on earth. And then we don't have to face hell that the Bible speaks of. We're set free from that. We don't have to face that. We don't have to pay hell. And that's the gist of the song. It's very simple, but yet very bold.
Very bold, very direct. The sound is amazing. Here's that new record by Stryper coming out next Tuesday, November 5th. Check out Stryper.com. Michael, thank you so much for your time. Here is that new song called No More.